I don't know how many people are going to talk for Larry, but it wouldn't take many to tell you that he's one of the best bareback riders probably ever come out of North Dakota. This kid, and I say kid, in 1992 I think he went to his first finals. I was at every finals. I was there every year he was there. And I was sitting there at the finals this year and we were talking about him, and he's somebody you talk about anyway. And we were like, we're just trying to figure out who had done what, and some guys had some stats and everything. And I said, I've never delved into the stats, and I do that a lot, but I never looked at him for Larry Sandvick. But this will tell you about Larry Sandvick, because I sat there one night in the media room. In 1992, went to his first NFR, went to 12 straight after that. He placed 58 times in 120 performances, won 13 go-arounds, placed second 9 times, and rode 114 out of, or qualified, I should say, on 114 out of 120 horses. That is, that's a cowboy. That's Larry Sandvick. I'll tell you, you could tell stories, and I could tell you lots of stories about Larry Sandvick, and you all have heard them. This guy was, when you can make Hadley Barrett cringe when he walked down the hall. Hadley Barrett had to interview him 13 times, but that'll tell you about Larry Sandvick. But he was a cowboy. Today he builds bareback riggings, and probably one of the best bareback riggings going. And not for, although he builds them for the big guys, he's helping those kids getting started. Larry Sandvick is the kind of guy that gives back, and he has for a long time. And again, I could tell you, like I said, we could tell a lot of stories about Larry Sandvick, but one thing I can tell you about him is he's a cowboy, and he's a class act bareback rider that we're proud of in North Dakota.
I'll have to add to what Rick said. I mean, Larry is a character and a half. Great guy. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, I've probably been on the phone with him for about an hour and a half each time. And I sat with him for just a little while in his booth this year down at the NFR. And there were some young kids, probably 12, 13 years old, that came up to the booth. And they were looking at these riggings, and Larry, I mean, it was just amazing to watch him talk to these young people, explaining to them what they needed, and showing these kids and giving them a little, I like to call it giving him a little piece of him, because he was willing to take the time and explain to these young people what they needed.